beaded on his forehead. Finally, he sighed, taking a step back, surrendering slightly. Yeah, fine. If I take minimal breaks, I can work out the coding issue. Then the Ropanians? Jackson Zell asked in a rush. Dr. Dupree glanced fondly at the robot that had been smoking. Jackson followed his gaze, definitely impressed by the Ropanian. The machine, she, looked so real with her soft, pale skin and long hair the color of sunlight. The life-sized robot was wearing a basic medical gown for practicality's sake, but in real clothes, she'd appear normal. There were male versions of the robots that looked just as real. Before the robot had malfunctioned, she did move fluidly. She spoke like a person, engaged and affectionate. The Ropanians were exactly what Jackson Zell had envisioned. They'd make his corporation a fortune once people found out they could have companionship without all the heartache and difficulty of relationships with real humans, flawed people. The Ropanians didn't argue. They didn't bicker or cheat or challenge. They simply agreed and complimented their owners. The lost and lonely people of the world would pay a lot of money for a companion who seemed real, even if they didn't feel that way. Yes, they were still machines, cold and full of metal, but they were eager to please in the ways they could. They'd converse, flatter, simulate all the positive parts of a real relationship without all the drawbacks. Jackson Zell stared greedily at the robot. The Ropanians were exactly what the world needed. They were worth the high price tag, and people would pay for them. Soon, Zell Corp's money problems would be a thing of the past. Better than all of that was that the Ropanians would be the ultimate demise to love and to the FGA, once and for all. Chapter 2. Little Pleasures Farmhouse, outskirts of Boulder, Colorado, United States. Ugh, I feel like a robot lately, Paris complained, pushing away all the binders and notes crowded around her on the table. Faraday glanced up quizzically from the electronic tablet he'd been tapping. Because you have the sensation of being programmed to behave and act in certain ways? Paris shook her head, looking out the bank of windows to reset her vision after staring at documents for too long. No, squirrel. He flicked his tail, seeming to think. Is it because you feel that your storage devices are full and you need more space for programs and taking in data? Paris yawned, hiding her amusement. You're such a weirdo. Why can't you just be normal? Ignoring this, Faraday gave her a perplexed look. Is it because your battery, generator, or fuel cells, so to speak, are low and you need to be recharged? It's because all I do lately is work, Paris stated plainly, pointing to her phone. I buy stocks when Subfar tells me to. I manage my advanced love departments at the FGA morning, noon, and night. She nodded to the binders cluttering the table in the dining room of Little Pleasures restaurant. Then I plan every aspect of my upcoming wedding in my spare time. You know, I could be helping with that, Hemingway said, bringing over a cup of coffee and sliding it down in front of Paris with a kiss on her cheek. She smiled, leaning into him. I know you will. And believe me, you're going to have quite a few decisions to make. But you also have to run the farm and the restaurant and pretty much on your own since I've stolen Uncle Clark to do renovations at the FGA. And he brings you coffee, which keeps us all alive, Faraday added. Paris picked up the steaming mug of black coffee and inhaled. Yes, it does. Although you still try to test my limits, squirrel. Faraday smirked at Hemingway. The robot's programming appears to be malfunctioning. I'll try to reprogram her with the newest software. Hemingway laughed, putting a comforting hand on Paris's shoulder. Even a robot couldn't handle everything that's on your plate, Pear. I'm really happy to take over the wedding plans. Paris winked at him. Cool. Then you can go and get fitted for a wedding dress. Then you can check on the cake and ensure that Lee isn't planning on baking explosives or weapons into the confection. Oh, and call up Punchline, the most famous band in the country, to call in a favor and ask them to perform at the wedding. Another chuckle fell from the magician's mouth. He shook his head. I wish I could help with